Of all the mitzvos and lessons that we have in Parshas Kedoshim, many of which are ethical lessons, one really reminds me of a situation that I had a number of years back when I was in college and working in the summer. The Torah tells us that when one does work for someone else, when one hires a person to do work for them, we are required to pay that individual upon the completion of their day's work. Lo salin pe'ula sachir itcha ad boker. We're not allowed to hold on to their payment until the following day. Rather, when they're done, when they finish the day's work, we have to pay them. Now, of course, if the agreement is made between the individual who hires the person and the person who is working that they want to be paid until the end, at the end of their job, and when they finish doing everything, that's perfectly fine. That's between them. But the Torah tells us that if a person is hired as a schir yom, as a daily worker, they have to be paid by the day. Now, when I was in college, I worked at a restaurant. I was a mashkiach in the restaurant. And this restaurant would pay their staff once a week on Thursday nights. And as I was working hard every single day, one week in particular, of course, I was looking forward to being paid on Thursday night. And the owner of the store didn't mention any particular issues to me, but as I was waiting and looking at my watch and realizing that it was 9 o'clock, and in another couple of hours, at 11:15 when the restaurant closed, I will be paid for the week, I realized that this week seemed to be a little bit strange. The owner of the store seemed to have been avoiding me, and when it came to 11:15 and we were about to close up the store, I went and walked over to him and said, "Well, am I being paid tonight?" And his response was, "Nah, I decided not to pay tonight. I'm going to pay you next week." And I remember how crushed I was. And I thought to myself at the moment, would I have felt differently had he come over to me earlier in the week and said, "Look, I'm struggling this week. I'm not sure if I'll be able to pay you on time," and at least communicate. Perhaps I would have said myself, "Okay, don't worry, you'll pay me next week." But there was a sense of arrogance and really a sense of disrespect that came from him. And so the mitzvah of paying a worker on time, of course, is found in the very same parsha as the mitzvah of V'ahavta l'recha kamocha, to love your neighbor as you would love yourself. In other words, if we were working for someone, would we want to be paid upon completing our day if that was the expectation? We should never treat anyone else as we ourselves would not like to be treated. I will forever remember not being paid that Thursday night, the sadness that I had over the weekend, not knowing if I was going to be paid in the future. And I just cringe at the thought that there are so many people out there today who work so hard. When it comes to the time that they are paid, there are those who do not abide by the Torah's law, by the halacha, that they have to be paid on time, but instead do not treat the person appropriately and pay them when they want to pay them. May we be zoche to heed the messages of Parshas Kedoshim, internalize them, and use them in our practical lives. Thank you for listening, and have a good Shabbos.